It is the big one this Sunday as Man City take on Liverpool. Many thought it may be a title race, but at the moment, it is one team running the show, and that, of course, is Liverpool. Regardless of that, though, today we are going to give you our combined 11s for both the sides based on form so far this season. And as always, pause the video at any point. Feel free to disagree and drop a comment below if you think we're wrong. Without further ado, let's get started. I'll kick things off with a keeper. City, bottom line is defensively, they've not been good enough this season. So for me, I'm going to stick with Alisson. I know Kelleher's been here or there, but of course, Alisson is the number one keeper for me. What did you guys go for?
Yeah, with Alisson back in goal, I've had to go for it. I know Ederson's been injured, not probably played at his best. Ortega, I think, is a very good number 2. Has shown recently that he's also playing a big part in this City struggle, especially with the the recent FA Cup game where it came off his backside. Just probably sums up his luck at the moment. I love Kelleher. I think he could be a number 1 at many clubs, but Alisson, to me, it has to be. He's had a good season, even though he's not been around for a lot of it.
And as a City fan, I'm going to come in with some bias here, but no, it's Alisson. It's quite straightforward, really. And I will always defend Ederson from sort of my point of view, where I say Ederson is one of the best goalies for the City team. And it's so important. And it's been shown when Ortega's played, the ball distribution isn't as good. But overall, you want a keeper, Alisson is one of, if not the best in the world. So, unfortunately, I will concede this one to a Liverpool goalie.
Right, well, let's move on to defence. Now, I'll ask this question in a different way to normal. Obviously, we've said City have not been good enough defensively. So, I guess let's start with, do you guys have any City players in your back 4? I've got 1.
I've got 2.
Okay. Reese?
I've gone for 1 in my back 4.
All right. Jamie, we'll talk about bias. Who are your 2 and why?
I'll go through positions. Sort of right back is Trent because, well, we don't properly have a right back. I'm not going to say Trent is worse than Núñez and Rico Lewis. I'm not going to, as much as Trent's defending can be critical, he's still better than them 2. So quite easy. I think the defensive 2 is Van Dijk and Diaz. Diaz has had a lot of injuries, but when he's played, he shows there is such a big difference in it. It's normally when he gets to play with, if we have Diaz and Stones, we'd be a much better defensive side than what we are. But yeah, so Diaz is my first one with it, and Van Dijk is obviously in there. I think Diaz is better than Kanate and Kwanzaa. So with that, and then left back, I've actually gone Gvardiol. Robertson hasn't had a bad season, don't get me wrong. I think Gvardiol's just had a bit better of a season. I wouldn't say it's clear cut who you pick out of them 2, but I would say Gvardiol overall on that.
Yeah, so I agree with Gvardiol, to be fair. He has been, although City have been bad defensively, ironically, Gvardiol is in there for his sort of attacking prowess. And at times he has been arguably your best attacking player, which is pretty crazy to say, considering he originally is a centre-back. So I went to him left back. Reese, was that your player or did you have anyone else in there?
No, actually, I am going to surprise you. I did have, obviously, Trent at right back because I don't really know who City's right back is now that Walker's not there. And I did say Van Dijk, of course, has to be there. You'd be mad not to put him there. I was teasing you. I've gone for 2 City players based off form. But I would say generally overall, the only reason I'm going a slight bit different is because Diaz hasn't necessarily been fit as much, and I think he's been susceptible. I've actually gone for John Stones. I know that sounds a bit controversial at the moment, but I don't think he's been that bad, and I think he's had to do with a lot of the heavy lifting with all the injuries City have had, and I think he's done an all right job. I think he's done only what he can do. And at left back, I've gone for Gvardiol because he is City's player of the season, in my opinion. originally a centre back, can play left back. He's scoring. He's not just scoring goals. He's scoring important goals. You know, regardless of where City finish, his goals, his equalisers or his winners have been critical to keeping City where they are at the very least.
I do just want to add to that. I think he's a better left back than he is a better centre half. From what I've seen at City, anyway, I think he's a better left back, and I'm more comfortable when I see him as a left back than a centre half, to be honest.
Well, he seems to have taken that role really well, to be honest. Like, yeah, it's hard to think he was a centre back. So we're in agreement then on the wing backs, because I went Trent right back as well. For my centre backs, I actually went Van Dijk and Konate. You know, Diaz, I think overall is clearly a better player, but this season I've still not been that impressed with him, and I just think overall Liverpool have just been better defensively. Let's move on to midfield. I suspect we're going to have some disagreements here, and maybe formation might depend on it. Maybe let's ask the same question. How many City players have we gone for out of the midfield three? I've gone for two, but I've kind of put someone in a slightly different position. Reece, Jamie, what about you guys?
I've gone for one, only because one's injured. Otherwise, it'd be two.
Okay, Reece?
I've gone for one.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start then in terms of my City again. So slightly more CDM, CM, whatever you want to call it. I went for Kovacic, and then the other City player for me, again putting him cam rather than on wide, is still Phil Foden. And then I might as well do my whole midfield now while we're here. But I also put in Szoboszlai. Now I know people are going to say, "Oh, Gravenberch had a good season," but actually Szoboszlai, I think he stepped up, particularly in the last few weeks. He just looks class. And although everyone's saying, "Oh, Gravenberch this, Gravenberch that," I think he's been the actual engine more recently. So I think we'll disagree on that midfield three. But yeah, Kovacic, Szoboszlai, and Foden for me. What did you guys go for?
Weirdly, my City midfielder isn't either of yours, to be honest.
We disagree.
I had Gravenberch in playing that sort of a bit more deeper role than the others. Obviously, as I said, the player injured, Rodri. If Rodri was fit, Rodri would be in this team. But obviously, if we're going off form, I can't have someone who's done his knee and is out for 6-7 months. The other two is, I think, McAllister, actually. So I've not even gone Szoboszlai. I think McAllister is so important to that midfield. And he's the one who goes underappreciated because he's doing a lot of the dirty work as well. Like he will be sort of like, as City have Bernardo Silva, where Silva will do a lot of the running, and he'll make these little fouls, sort of like naughty little tackles, tripping people up, things like that. McAllister does that. I'm not saying that's only what he does, but he does that quite well. And then finally, for my City player, it's still De Bruyne. Yes, he's not fit to play 90 minutes every single week now. He's still playing a lot of it. And I still think he's when he's playing, he's still one of the best players in the league.
I don't know, though. Form-wise, I just don't think he's been there. Like, on paper, yes, he's in this team. But I think on form, I don't think he's been strong enough.
I think he dictates majority of City's play, to be perfectly honest. He's not going to pop up with the goals as much. That is more of a Haaland and a Foden sort of job. But I think De Bruyne controls the ball, dictates most of the play for City, to be honest. Reece, what's your three?
Yeah, I've gone for Gravenberch in midfield. I think I called him out as one of the worst signings last season because he was. And since then, he's taken on his game to a new level. Slot has had him absolutely flying, and he has been an absolute monster in that position. And I know I'm basing my team off form, but he's not lost any of his form, so he has to stay. My other midfielder, I've also gone for Szoboszlai. I'm a big fan of his, watching him play in Germany. And I don't think we got to see the best from him last season. but I think we saw a lot of consistency. And again, he's now taken on new levels, adding more goals to his game and all-round great play. My last player, again, basing it off form. I know this might sound controversial, but I know he's played centre mid recently. I've put in Bernardo Silva. I think he's doing everything Pep asks of him. Like, he can't change everything for City. It's the same with John Stones. But you can slot Bernardo Silva in that midfield, centre mid, which he has done, and whatever, and he's done well. You know, there's only so much he can do. De Bruyne has not been fit. Phil Foden has only sprung to life recently, which I'll talk about in a while. So I'm going for Bernardo Silva. Simple as that. I think if he's not going to give you a 10 out of 10, he's not going to drop below a 7.
Interesting. I think that is definitely the most of any XI we've ever done where we disagree wholeheartedly with the midfield, which maybe tells you what we think of both sides of midfields at the minute. Let's get to the strikers / the front three. Let's just start with the obvious one, Salah. I think if anyone's not putting him in this team, I think we've got to quit the pod.
Well, hold on. No. No, it's Salah, isn't it? Yeah. Salah's right wing. It doesn't matter what XI we're doing, if it's current players in the Premier League, no matter what teams it's against, Salah's the right winger.
Yeah, of everyone. Absolutely. What a season he's having. Striker, I'll start again. I've gone for Haaland. Yes, City haven't been great, but he is still a joke. He's still there, delivering the goals at the end of the day. Are you guys in agreement with that? Or did you go for someone else?
Absolutely. It is Haaland. Liverpool haven't really got the striker that competes with Haaland. They've got, like, Salah's their main goal scorer. Haaland City's. And one thing I think that goes unnoticed, because City are in bad form, Haaland is getting better, especially sort of hold up play in things like the Chelsea game, where he's actually brought the pass down, passed it onto Foden, winning headers. It was the Brentford away game. He won, I think it was like 95% of headers in that game, and a lot of the balls were just long big balls where defenders normally win it. Haaland's build-up play and everything, he's coming short sometimes and giving the sort of 1-2 passes, bringing more into the game that I think people are still unaware of because they just see him as a goal merchant kind of thing. So I think it is Haaland in this sort of aspect as well.
Yeah, to the surprise of no one, Salah has to be in there. I mean, I know I'm doing this based off form, but, you know, the guy's been scoring goals like they're going out of fashion. You know, this season he's got, 26 in 34, 18 assists. That's a disgrace for someone, you know, who's in his 30s. That's an absolute disgrace. So he's putting so many players to shame. And he's been scoring recently, 2 at Bournemouth, 1 at Ipswich as well. You know, the guy delivers. And then up front, of course, you've got to have Erling Haaland. Again, people keep criticising him, but he's got 25 and 33. So, again, he's not been out of form. He scored in his last 3 games, you know, as of recording, his last 3 games, including a very, very good header at Arsenal. People need to understand what a beautiful header that was.
Yeah.
And fully deserved. So, yeah, I think it's testament at the moment. I know we've still got one position to fill, but it's testament to City, no matter how bad they are at the moment, we can still put players in a form 11 or an all-time 11 or a current 11 because they're delivering consistently.
All right, let's wrap up our teams then. I think we're going to disagree on this personally. Again, let's see. Jamie, will go to you first. Who'd you put left wing?
Left wing, to be honest, I think it's between 2 players. I think one from either team. I think it's between Savio and Gakpo. And I think under Slot, Gakpo's been a different level. It's almost like the kind of what we'd seen from him from Netherlands. So I've gone with Gakpo over Savinho. I think Savinho's a brilliant player. Don't get me wrong. I am excited to see what he's going to be like in sort of, you know, 1 or 2 years. But right now, or form, I think you have to go with Gakpo. With that.
Yeah, I agreed. Actually, I thought someone might chuck in Diaz. I think Savinho, like, you can tell he's just a beautiful footballer, but I think he needs to deliver more output. Basically, is the bottom line. And I think the last probably month or so, I think Gakpo, as you said, we're starting to see that player now that we saw at Netherlands, as you kind of touched on, starting to deliver a bit more, starting to have an involvement in every game. And it's a great problem for Liverpool to have. It's a great problem for Slot to have, Diaz there. I know it's on the right wing, but Chiesa, like, they've got serious depth in those wide positions. But yeah, for me, I went Gakpo. Reece, is it going to be a agreed front three, or did you go for someone else?
No, I went for last year's Player of the Year or season, and that was Foden. Again, off form, 6 goals from this calendar year. A lot of us were critical of him throughout the season. I mean, he didn't score any goals, I don't think, until, was it late December against Aston Villa? So he was offering nothing, and everyone was wondering what happened. And then all of a sudden he scored, 6 goals at the turn of the year. Yes, they're all in the Premier League, but he's going to deliver. In those games as well where he scored, City have not lost. So it goes to show his importance still, where if all the other players are struggling around him and Haaland might not be getting in the game, Foden's offering something, and I think he's been very, very good recently.
Yeah, there you have it. That is an 11 that I think is probably the most we've ever disagreed on an 11, which I think is very interesting indeed. But as always, there's been plenty to agree with and plenty to disagree with. But we want to hear from you guys. Post your 11, obviously inform 11 between City and Liverpool below. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.